Alright, so this happened a few nights ago, and I still can't wrap my head around how things spiraled so quickly. My girlfriend, Emma, and I have been dating for about 2 years, and she's one of the most headstrong people I've ever met. She's passionate, opinionated, and, well, let's just say she doesn't back down from a challenge. It's one of the things I love about her, but also one of the things that has gotten us into some situations before. So we decide to treat ourselves to a fancy dinner at this highly rated restaurant in town. You know the type: white tablecloths, soft jazz playing in the background, servers who look like they model part-time. The kind of place where the water tastes expensive. The first sign of trouble? The menu. Emma is a serious foodie, and she takes her meals very seriously. She starts analyzing the options like she's defusing a bomb, muttering about ingredient pairings and presentation. Meanwhile, I'm just excited about the overpriced steak I'm about to demolish. Then, the waiter arrives. Friendly dude, totally professional. Emma asks him about a dish, a seared scallop entree with a truffle reduction or something equally fancy. She wants to know if the scallops are fresh. The waiter hesitates. Not a good sign. He gives a vague "oh yes, they're very high quality." Emma narrows her eyes. High quality isn't fresh. I see the storm clouds forming. Can you ask the chef when they were delivered? She presses. The waiter looks nervous now. I'm sure they're fresh. Emma isn't having it. That's not what I asked. At this point, I'm mentally preparing an exit strategy. The waiter shuffles off, and I'm praying the chef just confirms they're fresh so we can move on. Spoiler, that is not what happens. Instead, a tall, burly man in a pristine chef's coat marches out of the kitchen, arms crossed. He looks like he wrestles livestock for fun. The entire room quiets a little. He stops at our table, glances at Emma, then me, then back at Emma. You got a problem with my scallops? He asks. His tone is calm, but there's an edge to it. And that's when I realize we are about to have a problem. Emma doesn't flinch. She meets his stare like a gladiator about to enter the arena. I just want to know when the scallops were delivered. The chef crosses his arms tighter. We get our seafood from a reputable supplier. That's still not an answer. At this point, I'm shrinking in my chair. People at nearby tables are pretending not to listen, but I can feel the second-hand embarrassment radiating off them. The waiter has conveniently disappeared, probably hiding in the back like a hostage in a standoff. The chef exhales sharply. They were delivered yesterday. Emma raises an eyebrow. See? That wasn't so hard. I think, for a brief second, it's over. We can order, eat, and leave without further incident. But nope. The chef, for some reason, isn't backing down. You must be a real expert, he says, voice dripping with sarcasm. Emma doesn't even blink. I know enough to tell when someone's trying to dodge a simple question. A low murmur spreads through the restaurant. People are definitely watching now. Then, the chef does something I really didn't expect. He turns on his heel, marches to the kitchen, and comes back with a raw scallop. He places it right in front of Emma. There. Smell it. I swear, I almost crawl under the table. Emma, however, does the unthinkable. She picks it up, gives it a long, exaggerated sniff, then looks him dead in the eye and says, "It's fine. But I've had better." Oh. My. God. The silence at our table is deafening. Nearby diners have abandoned any pretense of ignoring us. Some are straight up gawking. The chef, still towering over Emma, looks like he's about to either laugh or flip the entire table over. Instead, he smirks. You've had better, huh? Emma nods, completely unfazed. Much better. I try to laugh it off, hoping to defuse the situation. She's just a seafood enthusiast. The chef ignores me. All right then. Since you clearly have a refined palate, how about I make you the best damn scallops you've ever had? Emma crosses her arms. I'd like to see you try. And just like that, we're in some kind of high-stakes culinary duel. The chef claps his hands, calling a nearby server. Cancel whatever she was gonna order. I'm making something special. The server rushes off, looking equal parts entertained and terrified. I lean in. Emma, maybe we should just. She waves me off. No. He started this. Let's see what he's got. The chef grins. Oh, you'll see. And with that, he vanishes into the kitchen. From our table, I can hear the kitchen explode into motion. Pots clatter, someone barks orders, and there's the unmistakable sound of a culinary war unfolding behind the scenes. A few minutes later, the chef himself storms back out, holding a plate like it's Excalibur. He places it in front of Emma. Here. The freshest scallops you'll ever eat. The dish is a masterpiece, golden brown scallops sitting on a bed of something fancy, drizzled with a sauce that smells like heaven. Emma picks up her fork. She takes a slow, deliberate bite. Chews. Swallows. Then, she tilts her head and says, "It's good." The chef's nostrils flare. Good. She nods. Yeah. Pretty solid. The chef places his hands on his hips. Pretty solid? That's all you've got? Emma shrugs. I mean, it's not the best I've had. A nearby diner actually gasps. The chef exhales sharply. All right, tell me, what's the best scallop dish you've had? Emma doesn't even hesitate. A little place in Maine. Fresh caught, seared perfectly, with a saffron butter sauce. The chef scoffs. Maine. Of course. I can do better, the chef mutters, more to himself than anyone else. Then, without another word, he storms off again. More kitchen chaos ensues. 5 minutes later, he returns, this time with a second plate. Try this. Emma takes a bite. Nods. Better. The chef looks victorious until she adds, still not the best, though. I brace myself for the nuclear fallout. The chef slams his hand on the table. That's it. You and me. Tasting menu. Right now. Emma raises an eyebrow. You're challenging me to eat your food? No, he corrects. I'm challenging you to try every dish I make and tell me, to my face, if it's pretty solid. Emma's eyes light up. Bring it on. Plates start arriving like we're royalty. First, an amuse-bouche, some delicate little bite of heaven. Then, a seafood tartare. Then, another scallop dish. Emma critiques each one like a judge on a cooking show. Good balance. Could use more acidity. Nice sear, but slightly overcooked. The chef is sweating. Then comes the final dish. The chef's piece de resistance, a truffle-infused seafood risotto. Emma takes a bite. The room holds its breath. She chews. Swallows. Thinks. Then, finally, now this is impressive. The chef nearly collapses with relief. A month later, we find ourselves back in town, and there's only one place Emma wants to eat. I try to suggest somewhere new, somewhere where we won't risk another culinary showdown, but Emma is already marching toward the restaurant like a knight returning to battle. The moment we step inside, the energy shifts. The hostess recognizes us immediately, eyes widening before she rushes off. Seconds later, the chef emerges from the kitchen, arms crossed, smirking. You're back. Emma grins. I had to see if your food is still pretty solid. The restaurant is less crowded than last time, but the tension is the same. A few diners recognize us, whispering amongst themselves. The chef pulls out a chair for Emma, more like a dare than a courtesy. No menu, he declares. I'll decide. Emma leans back. Let's see what you've got. The first dish arrives, perfectly plated, an extravagant bite of something impossibly delicate. Emma takes a bite and nods. Not bad. The chef shakes his head. You're impossible. Dish after dish appears. A new seafood tartare, an elevated take on clam chowder, a deconstructed lobster roll. Each one is incredible, but Emma critiques them like a food critic at war. Great depth of flavor. Could use a touch more citrus. A little rich, but well balanced. The chef mutters under his breath as he rushes back into the kitchen after each review. The staff is whispering now, watching the duel unfold. Then comes the final plate, a single scallop, seared to perfection, sitting in a pool of golden, saffron-infused butter. Emma lifts her fork and takes the bite. Silence. She chews. Thinks. Swallows. The chef is watching her like his career depends on it. Emma puts down her fork. This, she says slowly, is the best scallop dish I've ever had. The restaurant erupts. A server actually claps. The chef exhales so hard it's like he's been holding his breath for the past hour. He points at her. You're never allowed to leave town again. Emma laughs, lifting her glass. I'll be back. Just keep the food this good. Part 19, The Legacy. When the bill comes, it's covered again. At the bottom of the receipt, a handwritten note from the chef. I concede. You win. But only this time. As we walk out, Emma nudges me. See? That's how you change the world, one scallop at a time. I shake my head, but I can't help but smile. Because I know, without a doubt, that we'll be back again. A few months later, Emma and I find ourselves back in town. It's supposed to be a short visit, just a quick weekend getaway, but the moment we check into our hotel, Emma turns to me with that unmistakable spark in her eye. You know where we have to go, she says. I sigh dramatically, even though I already know there's no point arguing. Can't we just have a quiet dinner? Maybe try that new Italian place? Emma smirks. You know it wouldn't be the same. And so, once again, we find ourselves walking through the doors of the restaurant. The moment we step inside, there's a shift. The staff notices us immediately. The hostess barely suppresses a grin before darting off toward the kitchen. Within seconds, the chef emerges, wiping his hands on a towel. His eyes lock onto Emma's like an old rival facing off in a long-standing feud. You. Emma grins. Me. The restaurant isn't as packed as last time, but there's still an air of anticipation. A few regulars glance over, whispering to each other, no doubt remembering the last showdown. The chef pulls out a chair for Emma with a smirk. No menu? I ask, already knowing the answer. No menu, the chef confirms, cracking his knuckles. I know what she wants. Emma leans back, folding her arms. I hope you've been practicing. The showdown, round 3. Dishes start arriving one by one. First, a delicate amuse-bouche that practically melts on the tongue. Then, a rich, perfectly balanced bisque. Emma critiques each dish with her usual precision, and each time, the chef disappears into the kitchen with renewed determination. Then, finally, the piece de resistance, the scallops. This time, the dish is different. The scallops are plated on a dark, hand-thrown ceramic plate, sitting atop a luxurious bed of saffron-infused puree. The sauce gleams under the dim restaurant lights. It's beautiful. Emma picks up her fork. The entire restaurant is watching. She takes a bite, chews slowly, and sets her fork down with a thoughtful nod. The chef is waiting, arms crossed. Well, he asks, voice tight with anticipation. Emma takes a breath. This, she pauses dramatically, and I swear I see the chef's eye twitch. This is the best scallop dish I've ever had. The room exhales. Someone lets out a low whistle. The chef finally relaxes, letting out a victorious chuckle. You're not just saying that? Emma smirks. You tell me. For the first time since this culinary rivalry began, the chef looks pleased. Maybe even a little smug. He gestures to the kitchen. You have no idea how many hours I've spent perfecting that dish. Emma raises her glass. Then it was time well spent. The unexpected offer. As we linger over dessert, something surprising happens. The chef pulls up a chair and sits across from Emma, resting his elbows on the table. He looks at her thoughtfully, as if weighing something in his mind. You ever think about doing this professionally? Emma blinks. What? He gestures around. Food. Critiquing. Hell, even cooking. You've got the palate, and you clearly know what you're talking about. Emma laughs, shaking her head. I'm just a girl who likes good food. The chef smirks. Yeah, well, so am I. And look where it got me. For the first time, Emma seems genuinely caught off guard. I see the wheels turning in her head. The thought had never crossed my mind before, but looking at her now, it makes sense. She loves food. She lives for these experiences. Maybe, just maybe, this is something bigger than just a few playful duels with a stubborn chef. The chef stands up, wiping his hands. Think about it. You ever want to learn from the best, you know where to find me. Emma watches him walk back to the kitchen, a thoughtful look in her eyes. She doesn't say anything right away, but I can tell this isn't over. Not by a long shot.